Of sex. Mary on WABC line 1. Go ahead, please. What's on your mind?
Hi, Dr. Savage. About a year ago, we got a call from our college-age son telling us that he was identifying as female. This came out of the blue. He goes to school about 9 hours away. I scrambled to find a therapist for him to talk to him remotely, someone conservative. In the meantime, he was talking to a college counselor, a counselor on campus, who has since gotten into his head. And fast forward a year later, he's almost unreachable to us, our own child.
And what, is he dressing as a woman now when he's not talking to you?
No, even worse, Doctor. This counselor at school directed him to go to Planned Parenthood and start hormone therapy. When husband called the therapist...
I'm so opposed to this brainwashing. Someone should have said to your son, what do you mean you're identifying as a female? Are you gay? So you're gay. That doesn't mean you have to become a woman.
Said this. It is...
Listen to what I'm saying. How did we go from accepting a person being gay to accepting this insanity? How is this even possible?
It's totally insane. And what he tells us now is 20 years ago, you wouldn't have accepted being gay, and now you can't accept me being transgender.
That's the new doxy. Got it. Okay, so what is it about being transgender that makes him feel it will make his life better?
I think he was depressed. I think
now he's elated. He's happy now that he's a woman. You mean half the people on the planet are women and they're all happy?
But this is what it is. It's a fervor. They race, and
it's a mass hysteria. Which is that if you liberate yourself sexually, you'll be in heaven all day long. That's mass hysteria. It's brainwashing.
What does a parent do? This therapist...
No, it's a heartbreaking story. I don't know what to say. Thank God that never happened in my family. I don't know. I would say, if God forbid, let's say a child came to me like that, I would sit down and say, what do you mean? Explain to me why you're a female. What does that mean? I would try to have a reasonable discussion with this child, the boy. Say, what do you like, men? You feel like a woman? All right, it means you're gay. It doesn't mean you're transgender. What does transgender mean? God doesn't make any mistakes. He makes gay people, he makes straight people. He doesn't make any mistakes. So I don't know what to say. That's my opinion. I'm from a different generation, so it's how I see things. Perhaps it's illegal to see things that way. I don't know. Did I violate a law by using common sense just now? I don't know. What did you do? You try to talk to your son and he won't talk to you?
Yeah, and we tried to search out a therapist here who was conservative. That's nearly impossible. But in the meantime, again, he's 7 hours away.
No, it's heartbreaking. You raised a son. What was he like as a little boy? Did he show signs of being a girl?
So, you know what, Doctor? People question that. I was a hands-on mom. If it had been there, I would have seen it. He was a happy boy. He was sporty. He was social. He was smart. He went to a college he was less than thrilled with and became depressed.
And what? And then they told him he's depressed because he's really a woman?
Right.
Well, that's logical. You mean all women on the planet are elated and happy?
And he's directed to go to Planned Parenthood, where he's immediately started on hormone therapy.
Well, we know who they are. They're ghoul. The Planned Parenthood needs to be defunded and arrested. The leadership needs to be arrested for killing infants, for infanticide. All their funding should be seized by the Trump administration. All the assets of the Planned Parenthood leadership should be seized by the government, and they should be tried for infanticide. Other than that, I have no opinion on Planned Parenthood. All right, but you're raising a very important point, very serious point. You're heartbroken. What does your husband have to say about this?
He's speechless. He's broken.
Okay.
We don't know what to do.
Mary, do you have other children?
I have 2 younger children.
How are they relating to this sibling?
My youngest doesn't know. He doesn't know. My daughter is broken too. She and my son were very close. Now it's almost like he's in a political cult. He doesn't.
Well, hold on now. This is very interesting what you just said. It's as though he's in a political cult. That's fascinating. What does your daughter say about it? She would be closer to this than you are. What does she say?
Well, at first, her initial, I hate to say, but we live in New York City, and my daughter's very accepting. And she said, well, it's a thing when she first heard about it. But I had long discussions with her, and I said, I'm not saying that it's not a thing, but it's not his thing. This was never an issue. Never. And anybody I talk to dismisses me as though...
Well, let me ask you something. Why is transgender so fashionable all of a sudden? What is so appealing about that?
I don't know.
What's so appealing? I don't quite understand. What's so appealing about this? Why is this so cool?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm mystified. It's like being in a twilight zone. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to reach him.
How old is he?
He's 21, which is another.
Right. He's beyond your reach. You can't do it. You can't do anything. But you raised the point I've never read anywhere, which is it is like a cult. It's almost a cult that has snatched your child's soul. And he needs to be deprogrammed from this cult to that college.
Counselor.
It's like he's been taken into a claven and turned into some sort of witch. It's like witchcraft got control of his mind. Again, I have to go back to how I see a thing like this. It's one man's opinion. I'm not an expert on this whole issue, but I'll tell you this. If a boy says he has feelings in that direction, you have to sit down and say, okay, so you like men, so you're gay. It doesn't mean you're a woman. It means you're a man who feels things that you think are those feelings of a woman, but you are not a woman and you can't be one.
Be one.
No, listen to what I just said. You could have, as a man, has feelings like a woman. Submissive, but not every woman's submissive. You don't even know what those feelings are to begin with. What do you mean by the feelings of a woman? What are a woman's feelings? So how does he know he's a woman? What does that mean?
Crazy, doctor.
I'm trying to break this down. Let me ask, feelings of a woman. Tell me what a woman feels. You mean women feel the same thing? Women range all over the map, from aggressive to passive, from submissive to dominant. So what do you mean he feels like a woman? I don't even understand what that means. What does that mean?
Really, the catchphrase is identify. He identifies as a woman.
Right. What does that mean? Tell me what that means. Identifies with what? What portion of womanhood? What does he mean identifies? He likes lipstick?
He never did. He never. It's almost like it landed on our heads, and we can't get out.
Okay, so let's turn it around. He comes back to you in 2 years. He's transitioned, so to speak, into a woman. He's dressing as a woman, walking like a woman. He's got lipstick on, makeup, whatever. I'm not being facetious now. Would you accept him as a person?
I feel like I'm losing my. I can't see myself.
I'm just saying, he's still your son. Underneath all of the exterior, there's still your child. Let's put it that way. He's still your child.
I lost my mother last year. I lost my brother 5 years earlier. This feels like a worse loss to me. This feels dreadful.
But,
I'm losing
Mary, you can't do anything about it. Legally, he's beyond your reach. Who pays for his college?
We do.
Oh, Well, that's like sanctuary cities. Cut off the funding. See how much of a woman he'll be when he has to work 3 jobs.
Well, that's
see if he has time. See if he has time to put on makeup in the morning and see how beautiful he is once he has to go to work 3 jobs in a row.
Therapists caution us that if we do that, we are potentially putting him at risk for suicide. I mean, how do we...
Wait, who said that to you? Who said that? The therapist?
The therapist said that to me.
Oh, the college therapist.
Here.
Oh, they have every answer, don't they? They have every answer covered. When he loses one of his cult members, he's worried about losing a client. Well, that's interesting, but you have to make that decision. That's a very interesting decision. You could cut him off and say, look, you're an independent woman now, dear. I'm sorry, we're cutting you off. Have a nice life. By the way, if you watch shows like Intervention about drug addicts and whatnot, I'm not comparing it exactly, but there are pleasure centers in the brain that mimic the same centers that pleasure centers, sexual centers, drug centers. They're all the same part of the receptor systems. People go into treatment through intervention on various things. But on this thing, you're not allowed to mention it because it's considered like you're a homophobe if you do that. Is that correct?
Therapist, if you have an opposing opinion.
Well, then you have to get a therapist who has an opposing opinion, and you have to talk about funding. You'll have to tell your son, I'm sorry, but since you're no longer our child, you're telling us you don't want to talk to us, you're not listening to a word we have to say, can you please explain to me why we should give you any more money to go to college? What would happen if you sent him that? Do you have his email?
Oh, he's home right now. He's home right now seeing back-to-back therapists this week.
Oh, he's in your house right now.
He's home on college break.
Isn't that nice? Taking more care of his poor soul.
Mr. Savage, so we're paying for all of this out of pocket. It's not-
Well, of course, you have to, because he's so sensitive, and he needs all of that extra care. Has he ever worked a day in his life?
He's had an internship.
See, I'm not going to criticize you, but I will tell you, spoiling a child makes a child weak and confused. I'll tell you point blank. If I ever told you the things that I did when my son was young, he's a very successful man now. His friends were playing while he was working in Burger King at 13, taking 3 buses. And he didn't have to do that. It wasn't that I was poor or rich. I was a struggling graduate student. But I said to him, I said, it's not punishment. You have to learn how hard it is to make a living in this world. And you know something? Years later, when he was successful, do you know what he said at a testimonial to me? He said, I want to thank my father for making me take 3 buses to work when I was 13 years old to work in Burger King. Mary, what I'm saying to you is there's a family involved here. And I mean, I don't want to, get into this because you're going to get mad at me. You have an obligation to come to understand that you do have some control over the situation, Mary. And as hard as it may be for you to understand this, you may have to sit down with this person you love. And you have to say, look, you're breaking our hearts. We understand where you're coming from. But if you want to be this independent, you can't do it on our dime. You're going to have to make your own living. And so we'll give you 6 more months' money, and then you're going to have to figure out a way to make your own living to live as a woman. I can guarantee you as I sit here, he will figure out pretty quickly that life is very difficult, and you cannot indulge yourself endlessly on someone else's money. Now, I know, maybe it's tough love. How else would you handle it? I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. It is the Savage Nation. I love these advertisers. Charles Tyrwhitt. You know why? I was actually a customer of theirs before they started sponsoring this show, because they make the best business and casual shirts you're going to find anywhere. All the fashion from their famous store on Jermyn Street in London has been made available online, and they're giving my listeners a huge savings. Listen, Charles Tyrwhitt shirts are the most exquisitely tailored, crease-free shirts ever. British style, using only the softest, most comfortable fabrics. Tie, no tie, tucked, untucked. You're going to look great, believe me. Order now and get 3 shirts for just $99. It's that simple. 60% off, and all CT shirts come with free delivery. A 6-month quality guarantee and free returns. Just $99 gets you 3 amazing, beautiful, high-quality shirts right now. www.ctshirts/savage. www.ctshirts/savage. Make yourself look good. Jane on KSFO line 1. I love this topic. Go ahead, please. You are a conservative psychologist. Tell us what you see going on here with this trans thing.
Michael, this woman's phone call just breaks my heart. Just breaks my heart. Because the minute that patient walks through the door of one of those therapists, there's already a bias. Because people generally, not everybody, but generally people who specialize in that field are bent towards encouraging people to make this change. And it's so drastic, and in general, there's really no proof that this helps with depression. And that's the saddest part about it.
Right. Now, here's the thing. What they're assuming is that if a boy says he's identifying as a woman, if he lives like a woman and gets the hormone and this and that, he's going to live happily ever after. How many women are depressed?
Yeah, and it's...
I don't understand where does this thinking come from, that if you become trans, all of a sudden you're going to live happily ever after?
Because you're not a woman then. You're a chemically altered man. I mean,
you just hit the gong. You just took that big hammer and you hit that gong and it rang way. That bell just went off in my head. You're not a woman. I'm going to send you a gift. I can't send you anything but Trump swore. It's what I am. It's what I do. Next hour, Jane, I want to talk more about this whole trans thing on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Ready the timing? Let me count it out for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And here I am, coming in on 2. Right to you. So, as the hour ground to an end in the last hour, I went from such important topics such as the church committee rules and how intelligence committees under Feinstein became nothing but rubber stamps, no longer controlling the CIA and FBI and other intelligence agencies, which are conducting a war to bring down Donald Trump, along with the rhinos, and why have the media and Dems drop the Russia collusion story. Is this a silent coup by the rhinos to get Pence into the White House? By the way, all of these topics are in my prescient book. You heard me, Trump's War. I talked about the Great Barrier Reef dying. I talked about the Russians liberating Palmyra from the ISIS barbarians. And then somehow we went to a caller in New York named Mary who said that her son went to college, told her that he was identifying as a woman, and that she lost him. He won't communicate with her. And she's heartbroken. Her and her husband don't know what to do. And I had some ideas, which is, he wants to be a woman, blah, blah, blah. Good, then tell him, look, you're killing us. We can't support you. This is your choice. And we're not going to fund your college anymore because we believe it's like you've been taken into a cult there by this therapist who's telling you to identify as a woman. So if you cut off the money, see how long he would live as a woman. It's what they do with people in intervention who are addicts of any kind. You know that. And I said, well, how are you comparing this to it being let's say, addicted to a drug? I think the therapist might agree with me. I think that there might be another side to this story. And we have a conservative psychologist who had a statement at the end of the hour that was like hitting a gong in a carnival. I don't know her exact words, but she's back with us. Jane on KSFO. Jane, what did you say that when a man takes hormone shots or whatever and identifies as a woman, he's not really a woman, he becomes a what?
He's a chemically altered male.
Yeah, I never heard it put that way.
Yeah.
So therefore he doesn't know what it is to be a woman. He still doesn't know what it is to be a woman because he's not a woman.
No, he's not a woman. And Michael, I want to tell you, I have great compassion. I mean, if I wake up with a bad hair day, I'm unhappy. If I woke up with a penis, I'd be really unhappy. So I can't even...
Why would you be unhappy? It works for half the world.
Because I'd be in the wrong... I wouldn't like feeling like I was in the wrong body. Let's put it that way. But
hold it. Wait a minute. Now let's take your argument. So he feels like he was born in the wrong body. How do you as a therapist deal with that?
maybe he feels like he was born in the wrong body, or maybe there's so many other pieces here. There are all these psychosocial pieces that are not getting tended to because we've got this meme now that this is the best thing to do and this is kind and compassionate. But it turns out the suicide rate for these folks is really high post-surgery.
A little fact that they go through all this torture on the assumption that their lifetime depression will lift and they get worse?
Yeah. And that's heartbreaking, and that's something my field has to own up to and not overlook. It's just, then it's not compassion and it's not good care. So we have to look at all these psychosocial reasons. There's so many people. I've had so many kids or teenagers that had come through my practice that didn't want to, they didn't want to get jobs, Michael. They didn't want to get their driver's license. And you were talking about your son. We couldn't wait to be independent. We couldn't wait to be grown up. So culturally, there is something about...
Wait, did you say kids don't want to work and they don't even want to get a driver's license? Is that what you said?
Yeah. It's very common in California for kids.
Why? Because it's too hard for them to drive? It's too stressful?
It's just the strangest thing. It's like people aren't hungry to grow up, take on responsibility, and go through the developmental stages. There's something off.
Uh-huh. I didn't know that fact. I didn't know there's a trend now of no driver's licenses.
Oh, yeah.
What is it, polluting the environment? Is that it to be in a car?
No, I don't... except
when going to buy makeup or your drugs, then you're allowed to ride in a vehicle. that emits pollution. Look, the whole thing is, something's wrong with the whole picture here. But you as a therapist, let's say a boy comes to you who's 18 and he has these feelings. What would you say to him?
I have to, before we start cutting and snipping and drugging, we have to look at what is, maybe there's something scary about being a boy. Maybe there's something scary about taking on the responsibility of being a man. Maybe I don't feel...
Could it be the anti-male culture is driving a lot of sensitive boys out of malehood? Could it be that the radical, rabid, mad dog feminists are actually driving boys out of manhood, out of malehood?
Well, I think definitely men, particularly white men, have a target on their back. You can say, oh, that's so male, or that's so masculine, or that's so white, very easily, and nobody will blink an eye. So there's...
I see. You mean that's no good to be a masculine male? I see. That's evil.
Good. But also, if I'm afraid of my sexuality, if I don't want to take ownership of it, if I'm a woman and I don't feel attracted and I think I'm going to be rejected, then maybe I can hide out and pretend I'm a boy. There are other things going on. There are people who are genotypically and phenotypically not aligned and, hermaphroditic.
All right, now let's do this for a minute. I mentioned last week on the show that there are varieties of masculinity and femininity, and we know the XY and the XX, right? But if you do the parade of sexual identity in the human being, we have male on one side and female on the other. But there are gradations along the way, aren't there, Jane? As a therapist, you would know that to be true.
Oh, but Michael, there's some people that are more macho and some people that are more sort of girly girl. But let me tell you, I raised for 8 years some kids, and one of them was this little girl who was a tomboy. She didn't want to play with the boys. She didn't understand hanging out with the girls because they gossiped. She didn't enjoy their conversation. She hated girls' clothing. She didn't even want a shirt with piping on the sleeve. She was really, really a tomboy. Well, let me tell you, that girl, if I had been influenced by what parents are influenced now, I probably would have raised her as a boy. But let me tell you, that girl is not a boy. That is way far away from a boy now, and enjoys her femininity to the nth degree.
So what you're saying is that there are developmental stages in sexual development that if you interrupt that development at any stage, you can actually inhibit the development of that individual as a person.
I think so. When your son was little, you asked your wife, normal little boys put on their mom's shoes and tromp around the house and want to play dress up with their sisters.
Now, a lot of little boys do that. Of course they do. That because they don't understand there's anything wrong with it, nor anything right with it. They just think it's funny that their mother wears such weird shoes.
That's exactly right. And they play with that, and that's fun for them. Well, if we take that kid now, then all of a sudden we're going to maybe overlay, maybe he's transgender. I mean, I saw this recently.
Why is transgender at this time in the U.S. society, in the Western world, become so fashionable? That's the bigger question. Where is this coming from?
Well, I think that it's multifaceted, but there is definitely a political agenda. Look at John Hopkins was stopping the sex alteration surgery, because the head of it said this isn't helping anybody, and he looked at the statistics and said, I can't participate in this anymore. And now I think that they're starting to do it again, and they're calling it, because there was political pressure to do it, and they're calling it something like gender affirmation surgery or something like that.
One last point, Jane, as a therapist. The woman called almost in tears. She was heartbroken, from New York, married. She doesn't know what to do. Now her so-called son is home on vacation from college in more therapy. And he doesn't talk to them, doesn't want anything to do with them, but he likes their money, he likes their taking care of him. What if they said, we're cutting off all money to you, you want to live like a woman, do it on your own? What would happen?
I don't think it's so much you want to live like a woman, do it on your own. It's that you don't want to be part of our family. And we know you're hurting, and we want to be with you, but we can't support something that we don't see making you really happy.
I see. All right, that's rational.
Like if you.
But let me ask you something. I don't understand this part of it. Why are the universities brainwashing boys into thinking that they're women?
Well, it's not just women. Boys thinking they're women. It's women thinking that they're men as well. So
why are they pushing gender bending on so many young people?
I don't know, Michael. Up is down and down is up. If there's any I don't like to think about the motivations because I don't.
What's interesting, tomorrow is the Day Without Women. It's interesting we're having this conversation. Day Without Women. So the international communist organizations have now come up with a new trick, which is International Day Without Woman Day, and they're telling women to wear red now, clearly indicating it's a communist movement. I've been talking about the subversion in this country. I've been talking about subversive organizations. I know exactly where I'm coming from. We have a worldwide communist conspiracy right now, destroying the hearts and minds of millions and millions of people around the world under the guise of social justice. Does this fit into that in any way?
I do think, Michael, I think that undermining the principles and the traditions of the country and the institutions, absolutely, and this is probably another assault. And the only way it's not is if maybe all the birth control in the water has screwed up our sex.
All right, now that's an interesting one, just talking about this from a biological point of view, because somebody emailed me and said, what about the hormones in our food? Could this be causing this in men?
Well, that's one question that I have still out.
So in other words, if a guy eats too much meat that's been injected with hormones at night, and in the morning he has a craving to wear his wife's high heels, it's because of the steak he ate the night before? I don't think so.
Well, they say even that men being around women who are on birth control actually are responding different sexually because of the pheromones and all of that. So
Oh my God, this is weird. I mean, you don't know which way to turn anymore. Become a monk, I think, and just go eat vegan in the woods somewhere.
Well,
that's crazy. All right, Jane, look, I don't have an answer to this question, but it's a social phenomenon, and you as a therapist deal with it on the front lines. I thank you for calling, and I'm giving you the only thing I can give you, which is my life's work in Trump's war, because it's a battle we're all fighting on many different levels. That opens up one line at 855-407-282. I don't want to just talk about this, but it's a pretty good topic, by the way. WABC Lou, line 7. Go ahead, make your point.
Hi, Mike. Just wanted to call in reference to what the woman was saying from New York. And ironically, I came across this quote by Nietzsche before the show came on. And when she was talking about how she felt that her son was sucked up into a kind of cult, this quote came to mind. Again, this is Nietzsche. Hold on, I was walking. Insanity in individuals is something rare. But in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, North Korea is pretty insane right now. They want to launch missiles at America. That's where the rubber meets the road. There's no room anymore to wonder if you're a man or a woman. Can I put on lipstick? Who am I? All of a sudden, one nuclear missile can ruin your day. You know that, Lou? And that gets right back to what I'm saying. When you have a salami like Schumer, who will block Trump at every turn, without saying one word about the threats coming from Kim Jong mentally ill, you understand that a mind could be as polluted as a rotten body of water, and the polluted mind of Schumer and that of Pelosi, they ought to be ashamed of themselves, but a polluted mind cannot have any shame. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.